हमारे साथ उत्सव संदोजा हैं जो कि हिंदूज फॉर अमेरिका फर्स्ट के फाउंडर भी हैं और साथ साथ इनकी एक पहचान ये भी है कि ये कनाडा में प्रधानमंत्री रहे स्टीफन हार्पर के साथ भी काम कर चुके हैं। तो इनके पास दोनों देशों का अनुभव है और इस समय अमेरिका और कनाडा दोनों को लेकर भारत में बहुत चर्चा है, खास तौर पर जिस तरीके से खालिस्तानियों को पनाह भी मिल रही है, उनको समर्थन मिल रहा है। इन्हीं से जानने की कोशिश करते हैं। उत्सव, this is a very hot topic in India, and like you know the way India-Canada relation has gone down to drain, like people are really concerned, those who have spent their time in building that relationship. But what has changed in Canada, that Canada has become a women's supporter of a Khalistani separatist movement, and more so they are promoting like a violent feature among their own society.
Yes, the fact is that there are Khalistani terrorists in Canada, and everyone knows that they're tied to Babur Khalsa International. We know that they're affiliates of them. We saw it with the Khalistan Liberation Force, Tiger Force. We know that their dens are everywhere. We are aware of what happened with, some of these people threatening to kill Hindus for the fact that they're Hindus. We are aware of the fact that there are a lot of these bad actors, and when I say we, I say us who are very vigilant about what's happening in the Hindu community. And the fact is that Trudeau doesn't acknowledge that Khalistani separatists and terrorists are a problem to those Hindu Canadians. And the stuff that Pannu puts out is sickening and revolting. It violates so many laws. Forget about hate speech, whether or not you believe it's a concept. The fact is that he has threatened people outright, and he has threatened to harm people. And he makes a lot of insinuations about the safety and security of Hindus and what will happen to those who take flights on Air India. And it's about time that someone starts to look into him and look at ways to prosecute him through the courts. It's ridiculous. The Canada's Justice Department has not done its job. There's a lot to look into. He's got ties to China. If you saw my report from last year, Kihu 360, it's a Chinese military company. They gave Pannu quite a lot of help during his referendum campaign, 2020 referendum campaign. We still don't know what kind of coordination exists between the two entities, between his Sikhs for Justice group and this Kihu 360, which gave him this technical services. It's very strange stuff.
But is it only to do with the politics of Trudeau?
I think it has to do with the fact that Canada has an unfortunate history of neglecting to take this issue very seriously. We know why Air India 182 occurred, the disaster, because people didn't understand the Punjabi language. They didn't understand who were the main players. There was a lot of surveillance going on, but the intelligence agencies and various security organizations didn't understand how to connect the dots. And there was just a lot of lax security. There was this desire to protect minorities from all over the world and not really understand the actual problems that are going on in these countries. And so we saw that this terrible incident occurred, back in '85. And I think there's going to be another kind of incident given that there's so much
aggression. आप बड़ी बात कह रहे हैं उत्सव कि इस तरीके की घटना फिर हो सकती है। ये आशंका और ये डर भारत में तो है ही, लेकिन क्या कनाडा में भी लोगों को इस चीज का डर है?
I hate to admit it, I hate to say it, but when you look at this Mundar incident that where all these people were attacked, when you see that Arsh Dalla can order hits on his enemies in India and he faces no consequences, when Pannu talks about action against Indian diplomats, that leads me to believe that they can do something else. And knowing Canada's record, I'm not very confident that they can deter such a thing. And I think it's time that the Hindu community in Canada starts getting more aggressive with their questioning, and they start to bring themselves into a position where they can vote as a collective and make an impact. That's going to really shake things up in that country.
उत्सव, एक शिकायत भारत में बहुत लंबे समय से कनाडा के सिस्टम को लेकर है, चूंकि आपने कनाडा के सिस्टम की बात की कि कनिष्क केस आज तक ओपन है। निज्जर के केस में जल्दी से इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो जाता है, तमाम चीजें कह दी जाती हैं और उसमें सबूत भले ही सामने ना आया हो, एविडेंसेस ना हो, लेकिन आरोप लग जाता है। लेकिन तनिष्क केस में आज तक इंसाफ नहीं हुआ।
The fact of the matter is that it looks like that there's a double standard. It looks to me that when it comes to, the concerns of India, doesn't really matter. And the sad part about, Kaniksha is that the overwhelming majority of those people were Canadian citizens.
Yes.
And many of them were Hindu. And I don't know if it's Hindu phobia, but what I'm understanding is when it comes to Hindus, they second thought. When it comes to Khalistanis, who are a specific orthodox fringe of a religious faith, they seem to be praised and beloved. And I have to say something to the Hindu community of Canada. Get involved in politics. Start putting your money into politics. Stop looking at politics as a dirty profession. If you do not get yourself into electoral politics and fight for your rights, you're going to be walked all over. And that's a fact. That's just what's going to happen. The same way the Hindus fight very hard in India, and they were able to get Article 370 abrogated. They were able to get, many mandirs protected from attacks. They were able to even get the independence of India. That kind of courage is necessary for Canada. I think like a Subhash Chandra Bose is necessary for Canada almost.
But since you know the Canadian politics as well, क्या आपको लगता है कि कनाडा के अंदर चुनाव में बदलाव होगा इस चीज के अंदर, या कनाडा के अंदर जो एस्टैब्लिशमेंट है वो इसी नीति के ऊपर आगे चलेगा?
I think that the establishment of Canada will continue to ignore the Hindu community. I was very disappointed to hear that when this attack on the mandir occurred in Brampton, none of the politicians used the word Khalistani, even though that the flags that were used to assault the people literally said the word Khalistan on it. I mean, that tells you everything that you need to know. These are a protected class of people who will get away with everything. And that's why I think that there could be another terrorist attack in Canada, because if no one's willing to acknowledge the problem of Khalistani terrorism, then maybe when they see the red flags, they're going to ignore it, as they continue to ignore it, because Panu has violated laws in Canada. And there are threats to aviation security that he has uttered. He's talked about actually besieging consulates and embassies. He's talked about even crashing an airport. There's a very infamous video out there where Panu has actual flags from ISIS. Then he talks about crashing the G20 conference in Srinagar. And he invites action against the hosts of that conference.
सिर्फ यही तो सवाल है कि आखिर पन्नू को ये ब्लैंक चेक क्यों मिला हुआ है कनाडा में?
It's a very good question. I think he is some kind of tool of some kind of group or agency, and I just don't know why he's a protected person. I don't want to speculate, but on some level I think he's got some kind of national security interest of Canada. I mean, that's what I think. I don't know for certain. But it's very weird because when I've spoken to lawmakers, they're dumbfounded on why no one's ever charged him. They're dumbfounded why his books haven't even been investigated. How did he pay for all of these referendums? How is he paying for all of this organizing? Is there any accountability going on in the way he does his business? People are wondering. Like, typical businesses, political organizations, they all get audited.
Yeah.
It's very weird that
nobody touches him.
Yeah, and people should ask their government, and they should start protesting. Now, we see these Khalistanis protest every single minute of the day. Maybe Hindus and Indian Americans, Indo-Canadians, and frankly all Canadians should start protesting and asking themselves why a gentleman like him can say such things and suggest certain things and violate laws and not get prosecuted. Maybe that's what's necessary. Maybe people should start protesting at the Justice Department and get some answers.
आखिरी सवाल उत्सव, जिस मंदिर का आपने जिक्र किया उस मंदिर से आपका भी एसोसिएशन पुराना रहा है, क्या ये कनाडा के अंदर दूसरे मंदिरों पे अटैक का सिलसिला जो है उसको बढ़ा सकता है? क्या इस बात का डर, आशंका है? और क्या वहाँ की सरकार के साथ में क्या कोई लिएज़न है, बात हो रही है कि भाई उन मंदिरों को प्रोटेक्ट किया जा सके?
There needs to be a full, there need to be mandatory police protection for every mandir in Canada. The RCMP should get involved. The Ontario Provincial Police should get involved. I know Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. He's a great man. Love him to death. I've helped his brother, Mayor Rob Ford, helped him in his administration. One of the best men ever, I should say. My message is to Premier Doug Ford. Please help the Hindus of your province. They're getting attacked on the basis of their religious faith and their country of origin. They're being targeted unfairly. You have an opportunity, Doug, to do something wonderful. You can make history. You could be the first Premier of Ontario that gives full-time police safety and protection to these mandirs. That's what they need. No religious institution, whether it's a gurdwara, whether it's a mandir, a mosque, a synagogue, a church, should ever be defiled. These are not places of politics. These are places of comfort and revelation. And I'm urging the Canadian authorities, please take this seriously. Otherwise, I think you're going to start to see people lose faith in the system. And I don't want vigilante justice. That's scary. I don't want to see anyone get impacted by that kind of massacre. I don't want this kind of nonsense happening. You know, Canada's not a banana republic. It's a very great country. It's built by a wonderful set of founding fathers who wanted a land that would essentially be a new frontier for science, for technology, for growth. Canada is a wonderful, wonderful land. The immigrants of the world go there. If it starts to turn into like another basket case country, I can see investments getting pulled out. That'll be very devastating for their tourism, their universities. I don't think Canada wants to get into a recession.
इसीलिए भारत के अंदर भस्मासुर की कहानी सुनाई जाती है। जो लोग चेतावनियों को नज़रअंदाज करते हैं, आखिर में उनका अपना दामन भी उससे जलता है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए।
अगर आप ये वीडियो YouTube पर देख रहे हैं तो हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर बेल आइकन दबाएं और Facebook पर देख रहे हैं तो हमारे पेज को लाइक करें। 8 मिलियन प्लस सब्सक्राइबर, आपके इस भरोसे के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद।